Conventions. One of the most exhilarating experiences there is for fans of gaming, pop culture, animes, and so much more. I mean, who doesn't look forward to all the crazy knickknacks and cosplays you'll find at a convention? But with every great convention comes its stories, and that's why in today's episode of Raiserverse, we will be talking about some of the crazy convention-related stories that were submitted by you guys. Hey, what's up guys? My name is Jordan of TheFearRaiser, and welcome to Raiserverse, the show where we animate your stories and bring them to life. Before we get into today's episode, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe by smacking that like button and the bell of course, and to follow me on social media. Also, to submit your stories, you can do so by sending them into our subreddit page or email, all in the description down below. And without any further ado guys, let's just get right into it.
Our next story is titled Hide and Seek by Cecil95. So, I was at our usual anime convention called MondoCon. It was the summer one. Every season has its own MondoCon. So anyways, I was at the con cosplaying a noble character. I'm a girl. I was wearing a really big red dress with a second skirt under so it makes the dress kinda poofier. Suddenly, an Eren cosplayer from Attack on Titan, a guy, ran to me and asked me to let him hide under my skirt. But before I could say anything, he goes under my dress. I was standing there with a really red face while others saw it and started laughing and giggling. A few seconds later, a girl who cosplayed Hatsune Miku came towards me and asked me if I saw a guy in an Eren cosplay. She started saying that guy is her boyfriend and can't find him. I was standing there, the guy grabbing my legs under the dress. I said no. She then walks away, shouting the guy's name. After she walks away, I told him the coast is clear. The guy came out and thanked me for hiding him. And before he left, he said, "Anyway, blue really suits you." I was wearing blue underwear that day. I still go to conventions in that dress, but sometimes people that look at me start giggling because they saw me that day.
Our next story is titled A Convention with a Dumb Child by Tortoise128. Well, I was 8 when I went to my first convention, and it was like a tiny Comic-Con. I was dressed up as Link, and I didn't know much about conventions, so I went there, and it got pretty boring. I saw a bunch of Pokemon things. So, when I was there, waiting in the shop line with my sister, both my sister, let's call her Wendy, and my mom had to go to the bathroom. So I kinda just stood in the lineup and waited. And, well, as they were gone, this guy stepped in front of me, and being the dumb little child, I said, "Hey, sir, why did you do that?" The man did cut in front of me in the line, and I was wondering what was going on, but then the con went silent, and then my mom came out and asked me, "Why is the convention so quiet?" Then I said, "It was me. I was yelling at this guy who cut in front of me." She looked at me, and then the man, and gave him a weird, mean look. And then I bought my Pokemon things and went home. I was so embarrassed, but looking back, it's kind of funny now.
This next story is titled Dreamhack by the Malice45. As you know, I'm a huge nerd for Super Smash Bros. So I live in Texas, and when I heard that Dreamhack was going to be in Austin, I just had to go. So I was there and I stayed there. After a couple of hours, I felt a pair of eyes watching me. I turned around and it was a girl, just staring at me. I turned back around and went back to what I was doing. About 5 minutes later, I felt a tap on my shoulder. Knowing me, I was stupid enough to fall for this, and I turned around. It was the girl. I had little time to react, and before I knew it, my lips crashed into hers. It lasted for a couple seconds, and then I pulled away. She just stood there, looking at me and blushing. After that, she said I looked cute and gave me her number. Now, the girl I met is now my girlfriend, but if either of us mention this situation, it gets really awkward for us.
Our next story is titled ComicCon and Vape by _Kazuma_H. So last year I was 14, and although my age is low, I am quite tall, 6'2", and this caused people to think I was over the age of 18. So anyway, I went to Comic-Con last year, and I was with 2 of my friends. Let's call them Luke and Aaron. Anyway, a man in a Batman costume came up to me and handed me an e-cig. otherwise known as a vape. I was in shock thinking he knew my age. I said, "Can I help you?" Oh, and also I was in a Deadpool costume, so I'm pretty sure he thought I was older than 18. Anyway, he handed me the vape and said, "I bet you will look 10 times cooler if you use the vape as a smoke effect." So anyways, I tried the vape and my friend said it looked really cool. And that was my first vape experience. Now whenever I go to ComicCon, I make sure not to wear a costume from something 18 plus. Also, by the way, my friends were Iron Man and Captain America, so it made me look like I was their dad, cause you know, I'm 6 foot and they're 5 foot. But you know, don't ever do any of that stuff underage.
This next story is untitled by Kitty849. Okay, so I was in TRACON last year. It's a con in the country I live in, and I was cosplaying Megumi from Konosuba. I was so popular that when I was talking with my friends, some people came up to ask for pictures like every 5 minutes, and I was like, I'm trying to have a conversation here. But that's not all. 2 people were looking for me for 2 hours just to get pictures with me, and when they finally found me, they were like, OMG, finally, when we heard Megumi was here, we just had to find you. We've been looking for 2 hours. So I was like, oh, I'm sorry, let's get pics, and I'll give you a hug. So I did, and after a while, I was walking outside to get air, and one big guy comes up to me, and he's like, hey, can I get a picture with you? I was like, sure, of course, and then he came next to me, and I posed a little, and noticed he was shaking. Like, literally shaking. He had some problems with the camera, and was like, sorry, I'm just so excited. And I was like, a little creeped out, but said, yeah, sure. And then he finally got the pic and was like, thank you, and I said, sure. And it was so awkward and a little creepy for me.
Well guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of Razorverse. Be sure to submit your stories to get your chance to get your story animated for next week's episode. Also, for anyone interested, I have a merch shop if you'd like to show your love and support for the FearRaiser community. Fans who send in a picture wearing a shirt will end up featured at the end of a Razorverse episode. Now, for our next week's topics, we'll go as followed: scariest Halloween stories, you know, for the Halloween coming up, or worst first date ever. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in next week's episode. Toodles!